And they'll send it back all the way towards the left back. Stevens Point trying to start some sort of offense against Hudson. It's going to be tough, though, as Hudson has done a great job of keeping opponents under wraps all season, as now Stevens Point clears it out in danger. Annika Lewis sends it towards Liz Collinson. Collinson's going to fight for it. She heads it onward, and that falls on to Sydney Spencer. Goalkeeper was out of position there. Bergen Beversdorf was kind of hugging the post there. Dangerous situation. So now Beversdorf will send it towards the middle of the field. That one is picked up on by Kelsey Kohuski. And Annika Lewis sniffs that one out as it rolls into her possession. Back to square one now for Stevens Point. Good play there from Marley Johnston, a co-captain. Gives it up to Cam Massini. Massini trying to find a through ball to either Spencer or Collinson. Doesn't work out for her. Stevens Point will set up again in the midfield. Through ball opportunity doesn't go for her, as Ashley Anderson was right in the way. And now Duffy turning on her jet. She's going to send it towards the middle. There was a runner, and it's saved. Sydney Spencer had a shot right on goal, point blank, and she couldn't bury it in the back of the net. That one's saved by Bergen Beversdorf. So now Beversdorf will punt it to one of her forwards. Ellie Young, though, finds it. She fights for it, but Stevens Point comes away with it. And that is Lauren Johnson with it. Johnson sends it up towards Sierra Hefferman, but it is a no-go as it falls once again to Ashley Anderson. And she will clear it out for a throw-in. Madison Danielson playing good defense there in the right back position. So Stevens Point working with it. Lauren Johnson covered by Duffy and Ella Young. Duffy runs up on a defender, and that pass is errant, and it falls right to Cam Massini. Ella Young repossesses, and now Stevens Point hasn't really gotten a major scoring chance yet, but they've been able to at least keep Hudson off for a little bit, trying to prevent some of the lethal attacks that they've had this season. And welcome to the game, McKenna Olson in the 3rd minute of play, one of the early calls for her, as usually for her, she doesn't come into the game until maybe late in the first half, second half action. Massini and Collinson fighting for possession, as that one is last touched by Zoe Sell, who was being chased around by Cam Massini. Annika Lewis, senior co-captain, throws it up towards Liz Collinson. Collinson makes a great play on it, gives it up to Sydney Spencer. Spencer shoots a shot on net, but it's way too high for Beversdorf to even think about it. She watches it trail above the crossbar. So Beversdorf with the goal kick, and she sends it into a patch of Stevens Point players and Hudson players, but Stevens Point will take possession, and Hudson snatches it away just like that with the foot of Sydney Spencer. Duffy comes away with it on the right flank. She tries to tap it to herself, but too far wide. Another throw-in, as Stevens Point is just inching little by little. So let's see if anything can materialize from this throw-in, and Stevens Point just kicks it right back to Hudson's possession. Don't need to play really tough defense if the opponent's just giving the ball right back to you. As Danielson will throw it in, trying to find Spencer. Spencer is looking to come away with it. and she will be fighting with number 33, Madison Rogan, who does a good job of keeping her away, but Hudson's still in dangerous territory. Stevens Point needs to clear it away, and they do. Abby Gemsma puts it upwards to Lauren Johnson. Johnson trying to find a runner. She does in Sierra Hefferin, excuse me, but Annika Lewis does a good job marking her and keeping her away from the ball. However, it'll still be a Stevens Point throw-in as Lewis was the one who touched it last. Johnson with it after the throw-in from Zoe Sell. And Johnson gets harassed there by Cam Massini playing great defense along the right flank. Stevens Point in some dangerous territory now. And now Zoe Sell with it. Sell and Massini battle. Massini uses all of her body to get that one through, trying to find a through ball to Stella Duffy, but Stevens Point takes that away. Duffy ends up with it, though, after another clearance from Hudson. Side judge, though, waves that one off. As they'll slow down Hudson's possession as the officials would rather have Danielson send it towards Massini, who can't get a footing on it. But Ashley Anderson with it over to Young. Young with some nice moves there, doing some aggressive cuts and turns to keep it away from her assignment. And Duffy just wasn't there on the second pass. That one was from Madison Danielson, I believe. So here in the 8th minute of play, both teams have been in some dangerous territory, but no goals yet for either side, as there's a player down for Hudson. And that would be Danielson. Madison Danielson is down on the ground as Isabel Wisty is looking to check in. Danielson not doing so well. Checking into the game for the Hudson Raiders, number 3, Isabel Wisty. So with Danielson not looking so good, she took a pretty rough tumble. Hopefully she'll be okay. She's a very major part of this Hudson squad and getting it to gel together. She is usually the main free kick taker, and she's able to turn corners into scoring opportunities. But for now, Hudson will have to try and live without her, as a throw-in from Wisty intended for Sydney Spencer. Doesn't go anywhere but out of play. So now Wisty will throw it in. It's headed away from number 33, Madison Rogan. And now offense, just quick, short little tap passes to each other. Massini comes away with it, though, after fighting for it. And that one is sent by Wisty all the way down towards the goalkeeper. That is Bergen Beversdorf with the save. Good positioning from the sophomore goalkeeper. And now T-Winkle trying to leave it for Young. Doesn't really work out, but Hudson still with possession. Massini with too heavy of a touch. That one is taken away cleanly by Grace Smith. And now Abby Gemsma towards Sierra Hefferin. Back to Gemsma. Gemsa trying to find someone, anyone, and McKenna Olsen with a nice save. That one was shot by Sierra Hefferin, as Hefferin had a really good look on goal. And as play stops here in the 10th minute, it'll be fielded by McKenna Olsen, and she'll punt it. Olsen towards Spencer, but she doesn't come away with it as Abby Gemsma gets it. Zoe Sell with it. Sell trying to find Hefferon. Hefferon trying to work on Annika Lewis, but the senior defender doesn't let her go anywhere with that pass. Liz Collinson trying to find a runner. Stella is running after it. Can she get there? No, she cannot, as it is cleared out of play from the senior defender, Julia Motor. Annika Lewis trying to find Spencer. Doesn't work out for her, but Massini still on the ball. And Rogan will keep it away from Hudson, as that clearance that Rogan had was hit off of the chest of Carly Tewinkle. So another chance for a runner, but it's way too far out wide. Goes out of bounds after one bounce. So a swarm of Navy jerseys are up against that throw-in. Hudson comes away with it. Is that Duffy on the run? It is. Duffy, can she tap it in? No, she cannot. Bergen Beversdorf, the sophomore goalkeeper, with some great soccer IQ, great form from the goaltender. So now Isabel Wisty will try and keep it away from Haley Raymond. And Duffy, trying to field the pass, takes way too heavy of a touch, lets it get away from her. Poor control. And now Stevens Point and Abby Gemza. And back and forth these two teams go as they just pinball it off of each other. Duffy a bit late on the run there. There was an opportunity there for her to pick it up, but it was too late. Wasn't anticipating it. Isabel Wisty with a throw-in on the right flank side. Collinson heads it right back to her. And Wisty trying to find Duffy. She almost does, but Rogan once again, who has been marking Duffy throughout the early stages of this match, keeps it away from her again. So Young, after a throw-in from Wisty, doesn't go anywhere. Stevens Point's able to clear it out, but only for a second as Carly Tewinkle fields it. Tewinkle sends it on goal. That one is too far wide. It had distance, but the accuracy just wasn't quite there. Good shot, though, from Tewinkle as she can hit those. It might be a bad shot for a lot of people on this Hudson team, but Hudson, Solom, even probably Chuck, who isn't here, trusts Tewinkle to make that shot and put it on target. And she almost did. So Massini with it now after the pass from Marley Johnston. That's Massini with an open lane. She's going to give it up to Sydney Spencer. Good passing here from Hudson as Duffy once again was near the ball, almost had possession right in front of the net, but it didn't go for her. And now Annika Lewis will throw it in to Duffy, but it's sniffed away from a Stevens Point defender. That one's high up in the air. Can it go anywhere? It can, but not in Hudson's favor, and that's a header. That is a header from Ella Young off of a rebound from the goaltender. Goal in the 14th minute.
Goal for your Hudson Raiders, scored by number 12, Ella Young.
So a big time goal there for Hudson. Bubs, who isn't here, highlighted it in their last match that we covered, which was last week. I want to say Thursday. Yeah, I thought it was midweek or mid to late week. He highlighted that there were a lot of good chances in front of the net on rebounds, and now Spencer will go at it right towards Beversdorf, but she fields it cleanly. So now Young marking Abigamsma. And there's some tumbling going on. The ref finally makes a call on that one, waiting for his gut feeling to kick in, and he gives it to Hudson, giving them the benefit of the doubt. That's T-Winkle sending it all the way towards about 25 yards away from the net, and Beversdorf will just kick it away, curves it for a corner kick, just clearance of any kind, as that was a very dangerous position for Stevens Point to be in. That could have costed them a second goal. So now Duffy with the corner kick. Duffy kicks it in, and that one rolls out of play. Good clearance there from Stevens Point. I couldn't quite catch who the defender was, as that kick is way high and wide. That was from the senior co-captain, Carly T-Winkle. And she took another long shot.
Checking back in for the Hudson Raiders, number 23, Madison Danielson.
So Danielson seems to be okay as she's back into the game for the Raiders. Took a pretty harsh tumble, but she just rubbed some dirt on it and came back in. Isabel Wisty struggling to keep her head on the ball, but she is able to repossess herself and repossess the ball as well. Young with an opportunity to get it to Duffy. Can she get it there? She can. Duffy doing a good job of trying to shield the defender away. Duffy gets tackled there. Pretty physical, as Duffy has been the past few weeks. She has been getting into it with defenders that have challenged her a lot. And she has been using speed and physicality to her advantage. Too heavy of a touch there. And Hudson gives it right back to Stevens Point. So that's Lauren Johnson just kind of mindlessly kicking it towards the front of play, as there was no one even close to being there. But now Annika Lewis sends a pass up to Duffy. Duffy on her on her knees originally, but she gets back up, and just chaos in front of the net there for the Stevens Point defenders. It wasn't super close to Beversdorf, but it could have been dangerous if Hudson was able to keep a possession going, but they weren't able to. So a corner kick. Hudson will take it short from Spencer to Duffy. Duffy sends it on net, and that one is saved by Beversdorf once again. As Beversdorf has done a great job during this match, keeping the ball out of the back of the net, and I know that I say that with her one goal given up early in this one. But to be fair to Beversdorf, it was a pretty unlucky ball, as Ellie Young was just able to fit it past her. And now Stevens Point with a questionable potential handball there, but the refs will let them play on. And that's Abby Gemza And that one goes nowhere as she tried to find a runner on the left flank. McKenna Olsen fields it nicely. Cam Massini using the top of her head to relay it towards a Hudson forward, but she doesn't go for that one, and another chance taken away. That one is Rogan again fielding possession for Stevens Point, trying to create offense slowly but surely, and that's Tewinkle sending it all the way up, and that's Sydney Spencer. Spencer fielding it now in the corner. Spencer right to Rogan's forehead, and that one doesn't work for Hudson. Stevens Point now with an opportunity to try and start some offense themselves, as they still have a goose egg on the scoreboard in the first 20 minutes of play. Massini with it now. Up to Stella Duffy with the through ball. Duffy puts it on net, and that one is saved by Beversdorf. And Beversdorf has been weathering the storm in the first leg of the match. First 20 minutes of play, she has been doing a fantastic job of keeping easy ones out of the nylon. Good two player action there from Collinson and Sydney Spencer. Tewinkle volleys it up towards Sydney Spencer. Nowhere to go though but Stevens Point. And some potential runners here, but Danielson seals off that passing lane well. She keeps it away, and instead of a fast offensive chance, she keeps it away for just a throw-in instead. So a heading matchup between the two. That's 3. And it'll stay at 3 as Wisty tries to clear it away. She is able to, but it's given right to a Stevens Point midfielder. Can Annika Lewis stay strong? And she does. Clears it away and out of play. Now a deep throw-in. Stevens Point trying to work any kind of offense. Good clearance, though, from Hudson. Rogan trying to field it, but she trips and falls on herself. Tewinkle trying to find any sort of forward, but it falls to Cam Massini. Massini outletting it to Danielson. Danielson trying to find Collinson or Duffy. Doesn't go for either one of them, and that's Rogan once again. Bad pass there from Kelsey Koshusky. And now the ball rolls into Hudson's attacking end. Massini fields it. Rogan going right at her, but Rogan's the one who ends up tumbling for a second time in the span of about a minute. And she's playing with a lot of energy, but she hasn't been able to keep the ball out of harm's way as Beversdorf is able to. She fields it nicely. And she has quite an arc on that one, as that one is sent up all the way towards Lauren Johnson. Johnson over to Haley Raymond. Raymond loses it, though, and that's Danielson, the right back. And Danielson gets tripped. Really, nothing going there. Refs letting these two teams play on a bit more lenient than the last crew. As Duffy trying to create offense from a defensive side isn't able to, and now a throw-in from Grace Smith will ensue. Smith with two defenders around Sierra Hefferon Finds her, though, and Heffernan can't get it to Lauren Johnson, as Heffernan gives it up for a goal kick.
Checking in for the Hudson Raiders, number 11, Ashley Anderson.
So as a goal kick rolls all the way to Stella Duffy's possession, she'll try and burn around Grace Smith. Doesn't work out for her, though. Hudson, though, still fighting for possession. Massini was almost on the ball, and she gets slid. She gets her legs swiped out from under her and awards Hudson a free kick. Danielson sends it into the box. A soft header there, as that might as well just should have rolled out without any touch from the senior captain and defender, Marley Johnston. Beaversdorf way out wide. So now a throw in for Hudson, trying to get it deeper in Stevens Point's territory. And a bad pass there. Wow, it ends up with Duffy finding it on her feet. Beaversdorf tries to make a play on it. That's a no-go. Now Cam Massini out to Marley Johnston. Johnston with her left foot up towards Liz Collinson. Collinson has it batted away. Young out to Danielson. Danielson using her powerful right leg. It's too far out wide, though. Bouncing out onto the track. Oh, and a big-time collision there. I mean, it wasn't too bad, but it's one of the harder ones that I've seen this season for a soccer game. As Young there took a little bit of a fall. So now Madison Danielson, who is quite the specialty player. She's a right back with a lot of power, and you see it there, sending it all the way towards the box from about 50 yards out. Dangerous up in front of the net. But once again, another scoring chance just goes nowhere for Hudson, and it'll stay 1-0 in the 27th minute of play, heading into the 28th right about now. So Stevens Point now with an offensive possession for the first time, and it seems like a while, but they give it right back to Hudson. Ella Young with it, giving it to Massini. Massini out to Marley Johnston, over to Collinson, and Collinson tries to give a one-touch pass back to the trailing Johnston, but doesn't work out. Stevens Point working, can't get it anywhere though. And for a team that is a 13 seed matching up against this Hudson squad, who is a 4 seed and a highly touted one in the Big Rivers Conference, winning the Big Rivers Conference Championship, and I wouldn't say stealing it away, but prying it away from Eau Claire Memorial, the old Abes, who have won the girls soccer championship for years on end. And Hudson has been challenged by Stevens Point. As the last time these two teams met, I don't quite remember the score exactly off the top of my head, but I know that there were a lot of goals scored for Hudson and it was an exciting offensive match, but a completely different team now coming out here for Stevens Point. They're challenging really well. When they're in a dangerous zone, it doesn't really matter how good you are. That we've seen for Hudson throughout this season, they are able to still get really quality scoring chances like they've had tonight in the first round of these playoffs. But Stevens Point able to keep it away from danger, besides a unlucky header there for them, but still a really high IQ play there from Ella Young, cashing in her first goal of the game and her team's first goal. As Rogan takes a hit from Massini, Rogan left her feet, and Massini gave her a little tap there in the air. And one thing that Stevens Point has been struggling with, as noted right there, they have been struggling with keeping possession in their team's hands, as they have been beat off the ball plenty of times. And Hudson's been able to keep it away from any sort of forwards for most of the game. I mean, you haven't really seen too many touches from players like Sierra Hefferon or Lauren Johnson. So now Danielson trying to find Collinson or Spencer, but instead it falls to Duffy off of the trailing rebound. Duffy trying to find another teammate. She finds Massini, but Massini is snuffed out right away from Abby Gemza. Hudson up towards Collinson. That one's from Danielson, but it rolls out of any sort of Hudson's playable forwards. But as stated before, Hudson wins it again. Massini trailing the player with possession on Stevens Point, and she just pokes it free. She's been doing a good job of that all match long. So Hudson is very dangerous in corner kicks, especially with their main corner kick taker in Madison Danielson. She is able to put it wherever it needs to be, far post, near post, right in front of the net in the slot. It doesn't really matter. And Hudson's got a great right back. Danielson sends it far post, and that one is too far wide of the net, as it hugged the side netting there. And Beversdorf doesn't need to have any fear about that one. She'll take a goal kick. Beversdorf was trying to find Zoe Sell, but Sell rolls it off of her knee and out of play.
Checking into the game for the Hudson Raiders, number 13, Carly Tewinkle.
Isabel Wisty will take the throw-in deep into Stevens Point's territory. She sends it in pretty well, but Wisty trying to wait for the ball to come to her. And Abby Gemza was able to keep that and clear it out of play. Back to square one now, as that one is headed off of Rogan up to Gemza. Gemza was trying to find Hefferon, but instead Hudson will take possession. Tewinkle trying to find Duffy up the right flank. Doesn't go, but they still advance the ball regardless, as Stevens Point felt the heat and kicked it out of play. And Danielson boots that one far into on net.
for Stevens Point, number 25, Avery Pazuski.
Massini with it now, fighting against Abby Gemza. She comes away with it. Young with possession. Young right in front of the box. Young sends it and off the post. Ella Young with the goal. It's 2-0 Hudson Raiders.
Goal for your Hudson Raiders, scored by number 12 and her second goal of the night, Ella Young.
As our technician Ryan there plays the little introduction for her goal celebration. T-Winkle up to Young. Young searching for the hat trick. Can she get it before half ends? That's a question that I'm sure that she would like to fulfill the answer to soon. But another scoring chance now for Hudson. Stevens Point trying to clear it away. And great job there from Wisty, marking her man, keeping it away, and now restarting with a throw-in. T-Winkle sending it out wide to Duffy. Duffy lets that one roll on. Smart play there from the sophomore. Duffy in play, and now it is out of play, just like that. Trying to find a teammate with a point-blank shot. But instead, it'll be another Beaversdorf goal kick. Let's see how far she can get it now. Can she get it towards 60 yards? She's been able to do it consistently. Instead, it's a line drive. Ella Young fields it up to Massini. Massini out to Duffy. Duffy finds a runner. That's Spencer. Spencer cannot stay on sides, however. Spencer with an absolutely fantastic chance, and it was too good to be true. So now Stevens Point quickly rolls it forward. That's Lauren Johnson trying to get on the ball, but it'll be out of play. Deep throw-in for Hudson in their own territory, trying to keep the pace up and the tempo of this game. Duffy has it taken away from her. Stevens Point working the ball into Hudson territory. However, once again, this time, it's Wisty and Ashley Anderson who are able to keep it away. And now Spencer trying to find a runner. She does. That's Duffy. Can Duffy get there in time? No, she can't. That's Beaversdorf once again. Beaversdorf has done a great job picking the right time to run up on the ball and snatch away a scoring chance with a snap of a finger. So now Sydney Spencer takes a tumble after passing it to Carly T-Winkle. And even though the refs have been a tad lenient or moderate, they are giving that one to Hudson. Madison Danielson with T-Winkle, mirroring her back. T-Winkle will take it instead of Danielson. T-Winkle trying to find it on net, and she does. Had a potential runner there in Cam Massini. Couldn't get her foot on it, though. Ella Young with it. Now from T-Winkle up to Collinson. Collinson trying to find Wisty. That's a no-go, though. And boot right towards McKenna Olson. A potential runner there was Avery Pazuski. Doesn't work out for her, though, and it just heads right to the Neon Clayton goalkeeper. sure that's not the right word. I'm pretty sure I just made up a new one. As Duffy there is able to field a ball that was meant just kind of as a clearance. Stella Duffy, though, has her scoring chance taken away with the left paw of Bergen Beversdorf. As Quinn Williams will check in.
Checking in for the Hudson Raiders, number 22, Quinn Williams.
So, a corner kick. Williams, who just subbed in, kicks it too high of the crossbar and too far wide of the football upright. And Beversdorf sending a goal kick, and it rolls past everyone to T-Winkle. And she left it for Isabel Wisty, who ricocheted it off of Sierra Hefferon. Wisty, good defense there from Stevens Point. That was Grace Smith, the junior midfielder, keeping it out of harm's way. Wisty, though, with another chance. Instead, she will boot it. That one's right towards Beversdorf, who fumbles it a little bit, but she falls on it. Smart play from the goaltender. Or goalkeeper, or goalie, whichever term you want. As Stevens Point gives it right back to Hudson. That was Abby Gemza, who tried to volley it to Sierra Hefferon. Sydney Spencer out to T-Winkle. And now Hudson with another opportunity, but that one is kicked towards the long jump sand pit. So now another throw, and that one gets deep into Hudson territory. That's Ellie Young with the neon green sneakers, and Cam Massini put it in the back of the net, at least temporarily, as that one does not count, which is unfortunate for Hudson. That could have been Young's third responsible goal for the night. She would have been responsible for the third one off of the boot of Cam Massini. But it was not to be. Quinn Williams, freshman forward, playing with it now on the right flank. Sends it right towards Beversdorf, though. Nowhere to goal but the goalkeeper's gloves. That one is sent to Abby Gemza. Gemza with a nice little one-touch pass, but it's snuffed out by Sydney Spencer. That one was intended to Grace Smith. Spencer gets it again after a feed from T-Winkle. Spencer out wide to Quinn Williams, but it is too far wide. She couldn't get there in time. Massini, after a bad touch on the throw-in from Haley Raymond, tries to get it to Duffy. Duffy's able to center it, controls it well. Duffy tries to put a shot, or at least a pass, near the net. But Hudson is able to keep it. And T-Winkle, for the third time this game, at least off the top of my head, she's might have had more times, at least 3, where she's tried to send a ball in from at least 35 yards plus. Doesn't go for her, though. And now a runner for Stevens Point, but McKenna Olsen snuffs that one out perfectly. Lauren Johnson sending a through ball way from behind, trying to find Sierra Hefferon. as a Young playing some solid defense has that ball ricocheted off of her side. Quick little back heel pass up to Lauren Johnson. That was from Abby Gemza. Johnson will try and return the favor to Abby. It is a no, though. And a pretty rough challenge there to Marley Johnston as she tried to keep it out of harm's way. And Olsen once again with a touch. As we head into the 45th minute of play. So with 1 minute left, we'll see if any team can get another offensive goal here, or at least offensive progress. If Stevens Point can shorten the deficit and make this game a whole lot more interesting heading into halftime, or if Hudson can continue to put their foot on the gas. Or none of the above, and it will stay 2-0. And we'll see, but now Hudson trying to make a case for option A. Duffy on the right flank. Duffy plays it past her defender, sends it in towards the slot. Nowhere to go, though, but out of play. Hudson trying to rush it quickly. As we now close in on 10 seconds, Madison Danielson trying to go, and I will sign off for right now.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And that is the end of the first half. Your Hudson Raiders lead 2-0. We'll see you back for the second one.
So it is nearly 8 p.m. here in Hudson High School on Raider Field. A nice 64 degrees outside, and if you didn't catch it, I wasn't on the mic originally. I was on the PA mic to count down the seconds, but Hudson was so very close to getting a 3-0 lead in the first half and padding their lead even more, but they weren't able to cash in on that goal-scoring opportunity, so Stevens Point is definitely lucky to go in with a 2-0 deficit instead of 2-1.
Double.
So for Hudson, this is definitely a half that they can build off of. With 45 more minutes left to go in this game, though, anything can happen. A 2-0 lead is certainly a dangerous one in any sport that counts up by ones, hockey, soccer, baseball, because 2-0 victories can get real close real fast, and if a team gets too comfortable with it, they are in serious danger of losing a very important game. Saw that last night in the Stanley Cup Final. The Blues were up 2-0, and the Bruins scored 4 unanswered goals to win Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals. So for Hudson's sake, hopefully that doesn't happen, and the way that they've been playing, it most likely won't. Good feed there from Danielson, and Spencer and Ella Young traded off with each other. Massini out to Collinson. Collinson trying to find Spencer, but Rogan clears that one out. Rogan's clearance finds a Hudson defenseman, but Hudson retains possession again. That's Stella Duffy. Stella Duffy is on the close end now for this half. She has been using lightning-like speed, and right as I say that, she blows past a defender. Good job there on the recovery, though, from number 21, Bryn Beversdorf. Duffy, though, with it once again. Duffy trying to find Liz Collinson, but that's way out wide. Nowhere near the intended target. So for Beversdorf, she will throw that one to one of her teammates, and now Stevens Point trying to work their offense, something that we haven't seen a whole lot of this match. And instead of anything happening on offense, Hudson will stay strong in the back end. Danielson trying to clear it. Didn't work out. Anderson, though, gets her hand in it, and she gets it up to Duffy. Duffy trying to keep control of her touch. Duffy doing a good job staying strong on the offensive end. Tried to find Sydney Spencer, but it wasn't meant to be. And Stevens Point, when they get some sort of possession in the attacking end, in some potentially dangerous position, if they can keep passes going, they're not able to. They give it right back to Hudson's midfielders, and that's how they've been able to get a 2-0 lead on the Stevens Point squad. So now for Stevens Point, they give it right back to Hudson once again. A bad touch off of a volley opportunity from number 17, Haley Raymond. She comes away with it again. Zoe Sell trying to go cross field. And Pazuski and Duffy fighting for it. Pazuski with it again. That one defended well by Ella Young, but it will still be Stevens Point possession. So Gemza trying to find a teammate, and she does. That would be Haley Raymond. Raymond sending it out wide to Sierra Hefferon, and Hefferon can't get a good control on the ball, and a bad touch sends it out of play. Hudson trying to get it to the middle of the field, and they do. Duffy sends it up to Sydney Spencer. Spencer shooting it towards the net, but that one is right in the breadbasket of Bergen Beversdorf. Nothing but a can of corn for the goaltender. That's Rogan again on defense. That's up to Gemza. Excuse me. Gemza, after a nice feed from Lauren Johnson, receives it again, marked by T. Winkle. Gemza up to Johnson. Johnson sending it towards the net, but that's McKenna Olsen. She is going to field that correctly with fantastic positioning right there. Something that she hasn't really needed to do in this match, but good showing from the goaltender, the senior goaltender. Annika Lewis fielding that one defensively perfectly, keeping it out of harm's way. Rogan with it now, marked by Duffy. Massini with it. It is pried away from her, though, by Sierra Hefferon. Hefferon tries to get it up to Johnson, but Lauren Johnson can't get it too far out for her to receive. Rogan boots it away again. That one will find the feet of Hefferon. Gemza gives it right to Ella Young and her neon cleats. Duffy trying to get possession, and she does. Blows past Rogan. It's a 2-on-2 break. Duffy's going to go for the net, and she does. Stella Duffy buries it in the back corner of the net, making it 3-0 Hudson Raiders.
Goal for the Hudson Raiders, scored by number 18, Stella Duffy.
Fantastic goal from Duffy. Showing great prowess there on the field, and there's a quick substitution for Hudson, so I'll get right back to it.
Checking in for the Hudson Raiders, number 22, Quinn Williams.
So now Stevens Point coming back, trying to go as fast as possible. And Stevens Point now with some lucky touches. And they will get a throw-in after it, after the ball hits off of a corner flag. Deep throw-in. And that one is tapped out of play. Good defense there from Hudson, but it wasn't them who did it. They were able to force Stevens Point to a bad touch. And now Madison Danielson will use her boot, send it down the field. And the ball couldn't be contained in the field of play as it rolls out of play, excuse me. Throw in for the Raiders. Taken right back from Stevens Point. Now Lauren Johnson with possession. Johnson trying to find Hefferon. Hefferon will try and cross it in. Nope. Not a chance that one was going. But on the bright side for Stevens Point, they get to field a corner kick. I want to say it's their first one. At most, it's their second one. I don't really remember them fielding a corner kick earlier in the game. But my memory of it might have escaped me. So now Stevens Point with an opportunity. And that one is scored. It is off the chest of, who is it? Number 3? Seven. That's what I thought, sorry. And that one is scored by Lauren Johnson, who has been on the ball consistently throughout the game, and Stevens Point's first goal comes in the 53rd minute of play.
Goal for Stevens Point, scored by number 7, Lauren Johnson.
So that takes the wind out of the sails for the Hudson Raiders for the time being right now, but they still have a 2-goal lead. And they'll try and extend the lead back to 3. Quinn Williams with it, fighting for possession there. Good defensive and offensive battle there from Williams and Julia Motor. Oof. Tumble taken as Abby Gemza was sandwiched between Ella Young and a Hudson midfielder. I didn't quite catch who it was. So now Gemza will send it deep into Hudson territory. Just a little one-hopper right to McKenna Olson. No trouble for the senior goalkeeper. Excuse me there for a second. So now Stevens Point trying to cut the lead down to 1 goal. This would be a very well opportune time to do it, but a really bad and heavy touch there from number 31, Zoe Sell. And Hudson gets it right back. It falls to Rogan, though. That one is sent through. Hudson's able to keep possession. Quinn Williams trying to advance it forward. But instead, the less exciting option prevails, and Stevens Point will just clear it for a throw-in. As Isabel Wisty will check in for the Hudson Raiders.
Checking into the game for your Hudson Raiders, number 3, Isabel Wisty.
Another throw-in now. And Stevens Point continuing to try and keep it out of play. So Quinn Williams with a heavy touch there. Stevens Point has an opportunity now on offense, but they're going to have to slow it down as there are multiple Hudson defenders, and they don't. They give it right back up. And that was to Isabel Wisty, but now Hudson with an offensive opportunity. That one is fielded nicely from Sydney Spencer. Pink headband flashing through the right side, and another one-hopper, this time, though, to Bergen Beversdorf. Oh, and the refs are going to call a foul, but if I'm being completely honest with you, it just seemed like Madison Danielson had her shoes untied and found an excuse to kind of swan dive there. But whatever works, works. I don't know. I can't knock the hustle. So Danielson will field a free kick deep in Hudson's own territory, about 25 yards from their own goal. She'll try and find Spencer. She does find Spencer. Good control there from the forward. Spencer up to Young. Young trying to find Collinson and does. Collinson to Quinn Williams. Williamson goes past Rogan. Williams leaves it for Liz Collinson. Collinson taps it lightly, but too heavy. And that one doesn't go for her, as Stella Duffy will check right back into the game.
Checking in for the Hudson Raiders, number 18, Stella Duffy.
Goal kick from Beaversdorf just gives it right to Sydney Spencer. This is a danger area. Sydney Spencer has a good chance, but it is fielded away nicely from Julia Motor, getting her leg out in front of the scoring opportunity. Danielson sends it into the box. Nowhere to go, but instead Massini will field it. And in a big cluster in the box, Stevens Point's able to weather the storm at least for a split second. Danielson with possession now, gives it to Duffy. Duffy's going to try and cross it in. Duffy tries to find someone. She can't. Rogan's going to have to clear it out of play. A straight-on kick there. But anything that works to get it out of play, as Stevens Point was in serious danger. So Hudson with a nice throw-in. Got into a cluster of people, but they still have possession. Collinson fighting for it. Young with it. Young putting a shot towards the net. Another one from Carly Tewinkle. And both major scoring threats in the midfield couldn't get it past their own assignment, who was marking them. So now Danielson will send it way past too far. And that was really far out of play and sent it all the way to Ali Rogoszewski. Duffy with it now, trying to find a runner, and she is not able to. Defensive play there from Grace Smith and Bergen Beaversdorf. Smith was able to shield Collinson away from the ball. And Beaversdorf was able to clean up the mess from the back. Stevens Point with another pretty heavy and poor touch there, but they still retain possession. Avery Pazuski, I think that's how you pronounce it. A lot of these Northern European names, at least for me, have been a little bit tougher to pronounce. So now Duffy with it. Stella Duffy is just going to send it right down Main Street, and it will be fielded very, very comfortably by Beaversdorf. Ella Young with a slight tap off of her foot, but it's given right to a Stevens Point player, and now they have given their offensive attack a chance. However, Hudson gets it right back. That's Duffy with it. Duffy finding Massini. Cam Massini out wide to Sydney Spencer. Spencer looking for someone. She has Young and Massini. She'll instead keep it herself and wait for some more players. Instead, she'll give it back to Madison Danielson, playing through the back. Danielson with a nice move there for a defender, and she just boots it right off of Lauren Johnson.
Checking in for the Hudson Raiders, number 21, Lauren Chuckle.
So after a throw-in, it rolls past any Hudson players, and instead it will stay with Stevens Point, but it's given right back to Hudson. Lauren Chuckle, who just checked into the game, gives it to T. Winkle. To Young, trying to fight T. Winkle again, but lucky for Ella Young, her deflected pass heads right back to Danielson. Race for the ball on the left side. And instead of chasing after it, Collinson will let that one roll out of play. So with 2 goals scored in the first half, both by Hudson, and 2 goals scored in the second half already by each team, we'll see how these two teams respond to, for Hudson, a 2-point lead if they can put it away, or, excuse me, a 2-point deficit, which is what Stevens Point has. Another clearance there as this defensive work for Stevens Point has been pretty consistently just get it out of play and buy yourself some more time, as Rogan tries to head it out of play, but instead Stevens Point will keep it in possession. And that is Gemza. Gemza out to Pazuski, but it is stolen away from Madison Danielson, excuse me. Collinson tries to leave it for Sydney Spencer, but that had nowhere to go. And once again, Stevens Point just leaves it. So Hudson with some dangerous play in the front of the net. That one's fielded nicely, though, from Beversdorf, as a defender from Stevens Point was hit off of her face, I believe. That was a painful one as she checks her nose for any blood. As Danielson and Johnson fought for that one. Didn't go for her, though. Or Johnson, the latter player, didn't go for her, as Hudson will now have a throw-in. Duffy trying to field possession. She is able to. She tried to read the defender's move there, but instead it'll be another throw-in, now deeper into Stevens Point territory. We have 2 subs ready to come on for Stevens Point. They will check in when they feel comfortable at whatever stoppage they want to come into. That one's out of play. Another throw-in. Isabel Wisty will take it. Wisty trying to find Duffy. She is not able to, headed out of play from a defender. And I believe that this is an offensive substitution done by Stevens Point, but for right now, they would much rather have to, they would much rather have defensive units in, as they are pinned back deep in their own territory. Another throw-in. Count it, that's 3 times, or maybe 4 times in a row. And now with some back and forth in front of the net, Stevens Point comes away with it. Bryn Beversdorf isn't able to keep that one away, and there are 2 substitutions coming in for Stevens Point.
Checking in for Stevens Point, number 6, Abby Pazuski, and number 26, Kelsey Koshuski.
Carly Tewinkle trying to field it, but she gives it right to a Stevens Point midfielder. Julia Motor, who got hit in the face earlier in the match not too long ago, gives it to Rogan, back to Motor. Motor gives it right to Ella Young, the hat trick searcher. And after a header from Motor, she'll receive it again and put it in play in Hudson's own end. And a runner is Lauren Johnson, but instead McKenna Olson, who is her number likewise, will field it instead of Stevens Point, or Stevens Point's Lauren Johnson, who got a goal earlier off of a body shot. And she was able to put it in the back of the net, though, so no complaints probably from her or her coach, as she has been able to keep Stevens Point in this match. So now, after some potential passes, is given to Hudson, but Hudson gives it right back to Stevens Point. This is dangerous for Hudson. Lauren Johnson trying to find a runner. No, but instead it will be Kelsey Kosthusky, who I believe that's how you pronounce it. I really am not sure. Kosthusky. She will just give it right to McKenna Olson. 2 substitutions ready to come in for the Hudson Raiders. But for right now, Hudson will play this one defensively. Good shot there from Kelsey Kosthusky, but an even better save from McKenna Olson. Olson punts it towards midfield. That one goes off of the aforementioned Kelsey Kosthusky. And now 2 subs will come in for Hudson.
Checking in for your Hudson Raiders, number 22, Quinn Williams, and number 20, Cam Massini.
So now a throw-in from Madison Danielson. Danielson gives it up to Williams, who just checked into this match. Isn't her first time checking in, but one of her few stints checking back in. Ellie Young with it, staying patient on offense, almost gave it to the official in yellow. Massini, though, after a good feed from Chuckle, Massini puts it up towards Quinn Williams. Williams is able to find it towards Ellie Young in a very really natural way, but that's Ellie Young's hat-trick goal. She sends it out from way outside the box. Fantastic shot from Ellie Young, and that's a hat-trick.
Hat-trick goal for your Hudson Raiders, scored by number 12, Ella Young.
So that's a big night for her, the junior midfielder. For Hudson, number 12. Can't miss her. She's got neon sneakers on. And she's been using those in her power to put some in the back of the net, 3 to be exact. And hopefully there will be more on the board for Hudson's sake, and maybe she can put in a couple more. As Duffy makes a challenging play on that one, but the ball stays stagnant and plays back into Stevens Point. Another one where the ball keeps with Stevens Point. Some ricocheting action. Kosthusky trying to find a runner. Nowhere except for Annika Lewis, and out of play. And after that uneventful offensive stint, Stevens Point gives it right back to Hudson.
Checking in for the Hudson Raiders, number 11, Ashley Anderson.
Rogan heads that one up towards Kosthusky. Quinn Williams trying to find a runner. That runner would be Duffy, but it doesn't work out for her. Ball trails back to the back end. Rogan with a quick one-touch pass to Hefferon. And that pass sets up a pretty good chance for Stevens Point as Johnson leaves it out for Costa Husky. And Costa Husky puts that one on net, but no chance of it going in. Another one-hopper that is easy to field for McKenna Olson, the experienced goalkeeper. So now, after Hudson trying to keep it away, Stevens Point comes away with it again. And after another offensive chance had some potential, it will still stay 4-1 in the 72nd minute of play. As Jack and the Hudson faithful down there in the student section cheer on their girls soccer team. And this is a pretty comfortable position for them to be in, up 4-1 in this one. And now Spencer coming away with it after a long feed. Spencer with a nice cut back. And she just kind of leaves it right out of play. Nowhere to go. She was cornered. And Hudson will now be on the defensive in the attacking end. Off of a throw-in, Stevens Point's able to clear it out. And Johnson being physical with Ashley Anderson. That's a nice re-welcome into the match after she checked in not too long ago. And Isabel Wisty will send it cross-field and out of play. As we could have had a substitution there, but T. Winkle elects not to. Ashley Anderson checked in on the bench. And after she took a tumble, she seems to be okay. Massini comes away with possession, though. Trying to find either Williams or Spencer. It will be none of the above. As instead, it's Motor who sent it back to Beaversdorf. Abby Pazuski gives it up right to Ellie Young. Ellie Young with a hat trick. Kicks it right off of a defender. That would be Costa Husky. And now Hudson with a chance. Duffy takes a tumble, and that's a PK. That's a penalty kick for Hudson, and this is an opportunity to go up 5-1. So no caution on a yellow card or anything like that. They'll just keep it as a foul. And it will be Massini taking it. We'll see where she puts it. Massini puts it, and that's a goal. Cam Massini with the goal off of the PK.
Goal off of the penalty kick from number 20, Cam Massini. Checking in for the Hudson Raiders, number 13. Number 13, Carly T. Winkle.
As Massini, who just scored a goal, takes her voyage back out onto the bench.
Checking in for Stevens Point, number 31, Zoe Sell.
So couple of quick substitutions there from both sides. Sell was more in a pinch, though. Costa Husky with it, trying to find Johnson, and does. Johnson with some good touch and control on it. She'll just give it right to neon-wearing, fantastic goalkeeper, McKenna Olsen, who has been doing a fantastic job so far this match and has been all season. Stella Duffy up to Quinn Williams. Williams kind of let that one roll, and it goes right to Rogan, who is able to keep it out of harm's way. And after some ricocheting action, once again, we've seen that plenty of times, pinball-like motion from the soccer ball. And now Spencer trying to find it off of a clearance. Spencer is able to poke it free. She does. Spencer shoots it on net, but it's too far wide. She went far post with that one, and the curvature was just a little bit outside. So it will not be 6-1 Hudson. It will stay 5-1. So we have two substitutions checking in. That it would be Madison Danielson and Cam Massini for the Hudson Raiders. Two of the most dangerous weapons on the field for this Hudson squad. Costa Husky gives it to Gemza. Gemza will kick it towards Ashley Anderson, who just gives it out of play. Header from Anderson rolls past some Stevens Point's players. And another kick out of play. And some more quick throw-ins. Time is not on the side of Stevens Point, and this could potentially, and more likely as the score indicates, more possibly the last game of the season for this Stevens Point squad, which would be unfortunate. You know, it's hard to see any season end, but for us who broadcast Hudson soccer, this should be a pretty meaningful victory. Now, obviously, I don't want to jinx it, but it is a 4-goal lead in the 77th minute of play, so we'll see how Stevens Point is going to try and respond, as that one shot was sent way up high, and it tucks into the top of the net. Checking in for the Hudson Raiders, number 20, Cam Massini, and number 23, Madison Danielson. The two players who will sub out in contention with Madison Danielson and Cam Massini checking in would be Annika Lewis and Quinn Williams. Hudson trying to keep it out of harm's way, not trying to give up any sort of stupid goal. I don't know if that would be the right word of it, but more unnecessary. You don't really want to let your foot off the gas at this point when you're already up 5-1. You don't want to give up another one and give this team any sort of confidence, but Stevens Point really searching for anything. And it would be really good for them to put a goal on the scoreboard and try and build from anything, as Spencer fields that one after some good play from Cam Massini on the offensive end. And some tumbles there taken, and it is almost like a scrum on the right flank. As Madison Danielson, who just checked in not too long ago, will send it towards the attacking end. Spencer finds it on her foot after a nice feed from Cam Massini. Spencer over to Duffy. Duffy can't put it on net, doesn't even get a shot opportunity, as that one is played out of possession for either team. It'll be a throw-in for the Hudson Raiders as the ball rolled into the sand pit. Checking in for your Hudson Raiders, number 15, Kenzie Myers. So in the 79th minute of play, as we near the 80th minute of play, Kenzie Myers checks in, who has scored a few goals off the bench. Great player there as a sub, the senior forward. Stevens Point keeping it away from Hudson's possession, however, but Hudson wins it right back. Ella Young will field it. Young finding another player. That would be Lauren Chuckle. Chuckle isn't able to mark her assignment completely. And Hudson still yearns for possession. Stevens Point, though, doing a good job of settling down the offense as they just give it right back to Hudson. Back to where they were originally with a span of 1 second, and they just give it right back to Hudson. Pass too far out wide for anyone to field for the white and black uniformed Stevens Point Panthers. That one off the foot of a midfielder. That midfielder would be Carly Tewinkle. As Massini fights for possession. It's a no, though, from Stevens Point, as they'll keep it. Upper midfield, and they'll try to get in the attacking end once again. Hudson's able to keep it out of harm's way, but Stevens Point now inching upwards. They're outnumbered in the attacking end as Hudson's able to stay back, stay conservative, and they keep it out of play. Or not out of play, out of danger. So now in the box, Stevens Point will work, and that shot was too far to even really be considered far, as that one goes nowhere and goes nowhere fast. Liz Collinson and Annika Lewis will check in. Checking in for your Hudson Raiders, number 17, Liz Collinson, and number 25, Annika Lewis. So some late match substitutions, as there shall be light in the press box. It's currently 8:40 p.m. as this game winds down. It's a beautiful night for soccer. Cam Massini with it now. She'll try and send it out towards Kenzie Myers. Kenzie gets it in after she receives it again. She tried to get it into Liz Collinson, and then she received it again after a one-touch pass. But it was kept out of play by Stevens Point defender, their left back, on command. And instead, now Madison Danielson will field a throw in deep in Stevens Point territory. This might as well could be called a short corner. Danielson trying to find Massini, does, but a rough touch off of the chest of Massini. And her body did her no favors there off of that touch, as it was too far or too high up of a ball for her to field with her boot. And now for Stevens Point, as this game winds down, the future seems bleak as the season seems to close on them second by second. And Hudson, once again, able to keep that one out of danger. Not hard for them to keep it going and keep the defensive pressure up in the 84th minute. Johnson trying to find Gemza, and does. She fields it. Anderson marking her. Gemza trying to use any sort of offensive move. And Gemza tried to get it into the box. She did. But instead of a Stevens Point player getting their possession on it, it was instead a Hudson player. Stevens Point keeps it alive, though, trying to keep the offensive pace going, not trying to slow it down and burn any sort of clock with a throw-in. And Hudson takes it away. Can they keep it? Yes, they can. That's Liz Collinson. And it's an undermanned rush for Hudson, but they'll work with it. That's Cam Messini trying to find Kenzie Myers, but she is swallowed up by 2 defenders. And now we have players checking in for Hudson. Checking in for the Hudson Raiders, number 2, Adele Duffy, number 3, Isabel Wisty, and number 9, Maddie Wolfgram. So some players that don't get a whole lot of time, they will get some action here as that one is shot on. Fantastic save from Bergen Beversdorf as that play developed quickly. Beversdorf with a fantastic save. Her right hand swatted that one away, keeping it out of the back of the net. And Stevens Point lives to fight with a 4-goal deficit for at least a few more seconds. Checking in for the Hudson Raiders, number 16, Morgan Brozick. First time in a while that I have called her name or heard Chuck call her name. She is a junior forward. Yes, junior forward. I thought I was reading Liz Collinson's profile instead of hers, but she's also a junior forward. She'll probably get more playing time next year as she has been productive off the bench for this Hudson Raiders squad when she has come in onto the pitch. As we have some more substitutes warming up. If you see on the bottom, or not if you see, if I see on the bottom left, it's number 6, Cameron Helterbrand, and number 24, Livy Boyley. Also, Lucy Burtek's down there as well. But for right now, Stevens Point's going to work on offense. 86th minute of play. That one is kept away from Monica Lewis. Good defensive play from the senior captain, or co-captain. Stevens Point trying to send it in the box. They do. And that field goal is good, but it doesn't count for any points in soccer. Checking in for the Hudson Raiders, number 6, Cameron Helterbrand. Number 24, Livy Boyley, and number 19, Lucy Burtek. So both the freshmen there got a nice ovation, along with Livy Boyley, the the sophomore player on this Hudson squad, or one of, and Lily Watzak is going to check in, the junior defender, wearing the number 4. 87th minute of play, and that one is given right back to Hudson. Checking in for Hudson, number 4, Lily Watzak. And Cameron Helterbrand with some of her first touches of the match. Doesn't go perfectly well for her. And now Gemza sends it on goal. Fielded perfectly by McKenna Olsen, as it always seems that she does in these matches. So now another opportunity here, as it probably won't mean much for the grander scheme of things, but if Stevens Point can get a goal here, it means a lot to them to at least salvage something or anything from a pretty lost game in the 88th minute of play right now. So 5-1, potentially 5-2 if Stevens Point can get anything going on offense. Instead, it will be taken away from Hudson. That's Cameron Helterbrand, younger sister of a star quarterback and star basketball player, Kaiser Helterbrand. I'm pretty sure everyone is familiar with his name, at least around here. As John Wecken and I broadcast his magical basketball season along with players like Jacob Dalton, Peyton Reese, Luke Healy, and Landon Bills, and those are just listing the starters. But now back to the soccer game, and Lucy Burtek had an opportunity there to create some offense of her own. And she doesn't get a ton of playing time, so it was interesting to see her on the ball. But instead, like most Stevens Point attack plans on defense, they just kind of clear it out and try and let themselves breathe for a little bit longer. And that's Kenzie Myers. Kenzie Myers way too far near post. Ooh, I really emphasize that. Oh. And Kenzie couldn't put it on frame. So as time winds down, we look to see if either of these teams can work out anything as Helterbrand works on it. Can't retrieve the ball as Maddie Wolfgram keeps it away from her assignment. Isabel Wisty gives it right back up to a Stevens Point player. And now Stevens Point working on any sort of offense. And Hudson wins this one 5-1, most likely. We will see you in the next round.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Thank you everyone for coming out. Congrats on both teams for a fantastic game. Congratulations to Stevens Point on a fantastic regular season. And for Hudson, they advance to the next round of the playoffs. Hudson wins 5-1. We hope to see you in the next round.